It's a nice sunny day in November here in Provo, Utah. I've had some people ask me about, well, they've asked that I make a short video about how I do, or how I should say, how I prep for a forward launch on my Speedwing. Just keep in mind, like, there's a saying that you can ask 50 different pilots the same question, you'll get 50 different answers. So this isn't like the end all of forward launching instructional. This is just how I do it, and I'm going to try and walk you through why. I'm sure I'll miss a couple of things here and there, but hey, something is better than nothing in most cases. So anyways, I've got the wing out. I'm going to lay it out. First thing, going to look at the launch and kind of pick a line for where I want to fly or to launch the wing. Now on the Rapidos, this will be different for every Speedwing out there, any wing period really. Here is the middle section, middle cell of the wing. As you can see just from the design, it has this kind of like a graphic spike that comes here. So I'm going to lay that down in the middle of the direction I want to go, taking my risers, setting them down cleanly. Now this pack method, everyone has their own way of doing it. I'll go over why later that I do mine the way that I do, but one of the biggest reasons I like doing it this way, and you want to make sure that when you do pack your wing, no matter which way you do it, you don't do it exactly the same. And what I mean by that is that your fabric doesn't crease in the same spot every time. The longevity of your fabric will be better if it's slightly varied. But anyways, the reason I do it this way is it keeps my lines pretty much in the same spot I left them when I packed. And I pack my A's so that they're kind of free and up on their own, so I can find them right away. So lay out the wing. Now the most important part right off the bat is getting this center section where your center A is on your leading edge. So it's pretty nice and clear. You got to make sure your lines don't get caught up in the rest of the wing as you're unfolding it. Make sure nothing's sticking to itself. But this is the center section of your wing. This is the very first part that starts to initiate the oh, English has failed me, inflation of your wing. So you want this center leading edge part, like you have this A line, this line, center cell. This like 5-foot section needs to be taut. It's not all jumbled up like this. This is very important that this section is nice and clean. There's the first part of the wing to start flying and inflate the rest of the wing. Your wing, the cells all are interlinked in the center. As you can see here, there's holes, so as one inflates, the pressure is moved throughout the rest of the wing. And gotta go grab the other side. Obviously the rest of the wing, you want to make sure it's clean too. So you kind of give it a little bit of a horseshoe shape. And what's important about just the right amount of horseshoe, not too much, not too little. Make sure it's pretty symmetrical. I can tell right now it's slightly unsymmetrical, so I'm gonna pull this guy a little bit down. Because when you go to launch, you're gonna be pulling on your A's to start the wing. And you want your center two lines to be the parts or the lines that go taut first. So if you look here, and you want to be standing centered in the wing of the direction that you're going to travel for launch, you obviously want to make sure the other lines are cleaned up. But these lines you want to be the tightest. The second they go taut, you don't want these ones just cluttering on the ground, the other A's. See how it's kind of a linear in how this one's the tightest, this one's a little bit half as tight, and this one is, you know, another step looser than this one. So that is good. This one's probably a little too loose, so I might move it up a little bit. But as you're getting ready to launch and checking out your wing, that's one of the first things you want to make sure, because that's gonna it's gonna go a long ways in helping you have a good start. You want to treat every forward launch like a cliff launch. I mean, not saying that everyone should do cliff launches, but this putting together a system of how you do launches. I'm just tossing the A's so they're separate. I'll verify the lines here in just a second. But making sure that center piece right there is nice and tight and clean. And then, you know, I kind of make sure that these ones are as well. If they're too loose, as the wing comes up, they will have a little harder time inflating and kind of create some drag. And so if one side is looser than the other, it can kind of spin the wing, especially if you have any kind of crosswind component. Today I can go over what I check for winds. Obviously, like coastal sites can be different winds and weather. That can be its own video. I verified that it's not coming over the back. I have a little bit of wind coming up right now. It's a nice high pressure. It's pretty stable today. So you usually can't get away with launching this late in the summer, but it's November. Yeah, so next up, for your harness, I mean, this just goes with any flight. You should always put your harness on the same way every time. I do my right shoulder, left shoulder, reach down, do my left leg to left buckle, right leg, right buckle, center buckles, do a pull, make sure no fabric is getting caught in them. That's very common. You want to make sure that's not going on. Center piece. I also like to check to make sure there's no fraying that's going on. This harness is getting a little bit long on the tooth, but it's still good to go. So, and one thing also, harness all on or all off. Don't just have it draping over. You're talking to your buddies about stoke, about the flight to come, or some video you've seen. You know, you want to make sure that it's all on or all off. I've seen pilots go to launch with you know, like just one leg strap on because they got distracted by someone bringing up some kind of topic on the launch. You know, this is your life on the line. You want to make sure that you do things properly. If you have to when you're new, create a checklist, you know, borrow that element from professional aviation over until you have it committed to muscle memory. Just go through a list of all the things, whether it's pre-flight for like your weather or setting up on your launch. Now this launch is pretty steep. It's not the steepest around here, but I'd say it's one of the steeper ones. So one thing to keep in mind is your wing, the steeper the launch, the closer it is to being overhead already. So when you go to launch, even if it's on a flat, like you always want to kind of just walk, but every wing is going to be different, but this is true for pretty much every wing out there, is you kind of want to walk forward to get the wing up overhead. Unless you're in a tailwind situation, but tailwinds, you shouldn't be even trying those out until you've got, you know, a few hundred flights under your belt of hike and fly. Those can be really tricky. Obviously it's different for everyone, but for most forward wind launching, you're going to take a few steps forward to get the wing started and coming up overhead. Obviously not looks like a little truffle shuffle. You want to get that thing some energy in it, but if you just go all gas no brakes, you're going to lose a lot of finesse. The wing is not going to actually, because the wing is going to be in a stalling state at first, and so if you're just slamming that thing to the air, like the faster things are going to happen, it's going to be harder to correct it. So there's this nice middle ground you want to find. So on a flatter slope, you're going to want to wait to slow the wing down as it comes up overhead. But on a steeper slope, the wing is going to be already closer to that point of overhead flying, so you got to be ready to catch it as it comes up overhead a lot sooner. That's just one thing to kind of keep in mind. So now I'm gonna verify, do a quick visual check. My harness is good to go. Verify the orientation of my lines and my risers. I'm gonna set this one down nice in a clean spot. Make sure not to step on any of the lines. Follow the A riser to the point. Make sure this is facing forward. Bring up this carabiner so that it is correct orientation. Your A's will be kind of facing up and out with your brake lines in. Checking the A's, making sure it's clean. Make sure the direction all the way down to the clip in is correct. Clipping in. Now as I get ready to fly, I'm just doing a visual check of my lines. Because of the way I packed it, I know exactly where they are. I can quickly see. A nice thing too about the Rapid Dose is the color-coded lines. So it's super easy to do a visual check of your lines, making sure they're not tangled, no tension knots are gonna appear. Now, another thing too, if you can, a good habit to get into is showing up to your launch early. You know, half hour before, Just watch the winds, feel what's going on. You know, if you've got like a ridge on the back, make sure you walk up on the top, see if, like this is a pretty big canyon right here. Make sure there's nothing going on there that's gonna affect the launch here. So I've got a slight breeze, doing a little dust check. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna orientate the camera further back. Now I'm gonna reach down. I'm following from my harness down the backside of the risers, trims, brakes, making sure that looks clean. Hand through. I do the Euro hold. Reach around underneath, you know, my side of the risers, grabbing the A's. Do the same thing on the other side. Reaching around to the A's, make sure everything looks clean. Now, you don't want to leave like a ton of slack because that's going to shock load the wing. You want to just kind of slowly walk forward until you start getting a little bit of tension in the A's. You know, don't twist your body, but turn your head backwards. Verify that you're in the center of the wing and that the center two lines are what's going taut first, that they're pulling the center part of the wing. Once you get your orientation correct. Now, if the wind blows like your wing, stuff like that, and you're like, oh, you know, I was just already, take the time to reset the wing. Trust me, it is not worth breaking yourself because you're in a rush. Patience is key in this sport. Winds are looking pretty good. You know, a lot of people do an internal countdown. I'm gonna do that out loud. So we're gonna go 3, 2, 1, walking forward. Head check the wing. Run, torpedo, commit. And we're airborne. Woo!